Tshisekedi will not attend an extraordinary summit of the East African Community EAC convened by EAC Chair President William Ruto on the security crisis in Goma in the eastern North Kivu province. This even as the situation in Goma continues to escalate, much to the chagrin of Africans across the continent and the United Nations. George Maringa paints this picture for us.
Peace in eastern DRC, a seemingly elusive dream, one that continues to defy the hopes of millions of residents of an area that has been a hotbed for calamity for decades. Just 3 years ago, they were facing another calamity after the eruption of Mount Nyiragongo, not to mention years of tension caused by numerous bloody clashes by a combination of well-armed rebel groups and ragtag militias. Once again, they have been left homeless thanks to the resurgence and advance of the M23 rebels, or M23 as the locals call them. So much so that the United Nations is now calling for ceasefire.
For its part, our colleagues at the Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs tell us that the humanitarian situation in and around Goma remain worrying. Hospitals in Goma continue to be overwhelmed, struggling to manage the influx of wounded people.
President William Ruto had called for an EAC emergency meeting on the DR Congo crisis. Reports, however, indicate that DRC President Felix Tshisekedi will miss the said meeting, at least going by a deputy director in the communications unit of the president's office, Giscard Kusema, who said, and I quote, President Felix Tshisekedi is closely monitoring developments in the east of the country. However, he has no plans to attend the meeting convened by President William Ruto. President Ruto, the EAC chairperson, convened an emergency summit on 29th January to address the escalating crisis in eastern DR Congo's key city of Goma. Ruto said that he had spoken with both Tshisekedi and Rwandan President Paul Kagame to defuse the situation. Rwanda has been blamed for escalating conflict in Goma over its alleged support of the March 23 movement rebels. The UN Security Council met for the second time in 3 days on Tuesday over the escalating crisis in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo, with UN agencies and partners on the ground reporting chaos in the streets of the regional capital Goma amid rising deaths and displacement as the M23 armed group takes over towns and villages.
Currently, as far as we know, the M23 forces control the airport, and there are real risks of breakdown of law and order in the city given the proliferation of weapons. The mission has also been seen credible reports of prisoners who've escaped from the prison in Goma, as well as looting by civilians. Non-essential UN personnel have been temporarily relocated from Goma and the surrounding area. The movement of essential supplies and personnel is obviously an urgent concern. Armed clashes continue in multiple regions, including in Masisi and Rutshuru and Nyiragongo.
The recent clashes have led to massive displacement, with over 178,000 people fleeing the Kalehe territory after the M23 took control of the area of Minova. More than 34,000 of those on the run have sought refuge in already overcrowded IDP sites in and around Goma, exacerbating the humanitarian crisis and overwhelming the city's infrastructure. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.